Hello there, and welcome back to the Net Report podcast. And today we are here to discuss the NBA semifinals and just how amazing these series have been, ranging from the Warriors versus Lakers, Nuggets versus Suns. And honestly, these series have just been amazing so far, Tarique. And yeah, we're going to dive right into the first one, probably the most anticipated series in a very long time. Warriors versus Lakers, LeBron versus Curry. Most hyped series, wouldn't you agree?
Finally get it back. LeBron versus Curry after how many years?
Man, last time we saw
Uh,
was 2018, I think, right? It's just insane it's
I
been that
believe
long.
so.
And it
I
really
mean,
feels like it might be the last time we see these two face off against each other in a 7-game series.
nah, I feel like there's gonna be at least another time before Bron's out of the league.
I sure hope so, but man, this series, it's living up to the hype so far. It's only been one game, but man, that game was incredible. The Lakers steal home court and they take game 1. The Warriors definitely made it tough towards the end though. They had a 14-0 run towards the end of the game. They caught up, tied the game. I believe it was 112 to 112, and unfortunately, we had that Jordan Poole questionable shot, which, oh my goodness, I just could not believe
That was
he
not
took that shot.
unfortunate at all.
Oh, for a
That was
Lakers fan,
very.
it definitely was
That
not.
was
But
amazing.
and
I had
let's
a great time watching that shot tip off the front.
and let's make it clear, Jordan Poole can most definitely hit that shot. He was open. I understand why he was shot. JJ Redick was also talking about it on First Take, and players tend to foul, so that's part of the reason why he might have taken that shot, because when you're up 3, teams like to foul, so and then it becomes a free throw game. But man, it felt like they could have easily gotten a better opportunity. There were still about 10 seconds left on the clock, and Jordan Poole had a good game, but he had a couple moments like that where he was just taking shots and you were like, what, why would you take that shot, especially early in the shot clock? So it's
Yeah, no,
just
I see what you're saying. He also had the chance with Vanderbilt flying towards him that he could have just let Vanderbilt. He could have let Vanderbilt run past him and then move forward closer to the three. Because if he was closer, he most definitely would have made that shot a lot easier.
But not taken away from the Lakers. They had an amazing performance. Anthony Davis was a monster. He had 30 points on 11 from 19 from the field, 23 rebounds, and 4 blocks once again. Throughout these playoffs, Anthony Davis has been a menace in the paint, just blocking shots. He averaged 4.3 blocks per game against the Grizzlies, and he has not slowed down in this series with another 4-block game, and just patrolling the paint, him and LeBron, it seemed like these past playoff games, they've been amazing. I think LeBron had quite a few blocks too. I'm looking it up right now. He had 3 blocks as well. LeBron had 3 blocks. Vanderbilt had 2 blocks. So it's been very tough to score inside against this Lakers team. But despite all that, Curry, Poole, and Clay still played great. I mean, they each had 20 plus points. One thing I noticed with the Warriors is they took so many jump shots throughout this game, and a lot of people were complaining about the free throw discrepancy, but when you're shooting that many jump shots and not attacking the rim, of course there's going to be a big free throw discrepancy, especially with how much the Lakers attack the rim. But yeah, I mean, if the series continues like this, it's going to be one for the ages.
Yeah, I hope the Lakers come out on top and it's just Lakers punch it out, but I don't know if I really want to see a close series with this as a fan.
Oh, man.
As a basketball fan, yes, I want to see a close series as this. As a Lakers fan, I don't want to see it like this, where every game I'm sweating to see if we come out on top or not.
And I know you were sweating that game, but I think us NBA fans, we deserve a 7-game series of LeBron versus Curry. Just, oh man, that's what we all want when it
I
comes
know
to
that's what
playoff
everyone
basketball.
everyone wants, but seeing Jordan Poole, Steph Curry, and Klay Thompson hit 6 threes each, and the Lakers only hitting 6 threes overall, was just not fun to watch.
I want to give a shout out to Vanderbilt and Schroeder as well. They just did an awesome job chasing Steph around. Obviously, you're never going to completely shut down Steph. That's just not something that happens. But Vanderbilt did a very good job switching on to him, constantly chasing him around. Schroeder as well, which I was not expecting, because I was thinking like, all right, who are the Lakers gonna throw on Steph? I mean, you got Russell, Reeves, Schroeder. I didn't really anticipate any of them to really be able to stick with him and keep up, but Schroeder did a great job. Vanderbilt did a great job switching as well, just staying on him. So, I mean, even though
And that's
Steph
the
still obviously got his, that's a very encouraging sign going forward.
and that's the thing about Schroeder. It's just he's fast. That man has takeoff speed, and him staying with Steph was such a big thing for the
Mhm.
Lakers.
He's got hustle
And
for sure.
he doesn't. Even towards the end of the game, well, towards the end of a lot of Lakers games, when the Lakers have to throw in the ball, you see Schroeder just dart for the other side of the court, and you know he's gonna get open for it.
One thing I want to point out too is LeBron really hasn't looked at his best throughout the playoffs and this series, and the Lakers are still coming in and winning games, which that's just so big. It feels like LeBron hasn't had to shoulder the load, which is obviously great for him being at his older age and good for this Lakers team going forward because we expect him to be able to at least like up his game the later the playoffs go on. I think part of it has to do with that nagging foot injury. I don't know how severe it's been. It hasn't really been reported, but there's a lot of rumors that it's a lot worse than led to believe. But obviously, those are just rumors. We don't know because nothing's been confirmed. But
Yeah,
it
but
definitely
it's also
seems.
the
Sorry, go on.
But it's also the thing of looking at LeBron, like he's still scoring 20 points and
Hmm.
doing this while not looking at his best. But if you watch his game now, it's him looking for people open to pass the ball to,
Hmm.
because he has more weapons to use. He's got AD in the paint waiting. He's got Schroeder and Austin Reeves on the 3-point line, and then they're gonna rush in and probably pass it to someone like Vanderbilt, or Rui Hachimura is stepping up now, taking 3-point shots.
He definitely has
So
more.
he has weapons. Even D'Angelo Russell's out there.
He definitely has more weapons than most LeBron-led teams have had in the past. I saw a lot of people thinking, is this team really the deepest team LeBron's had in a long time? Because you have Malik Beasley being DNP'd, not even being played, and that's just kind of crazy to think about. I know he had a rough stretch at the end of the year, but that still ideally was supposed to be the Lakers' best shooter going into the playoffs, and he's not even playing games. And you got people like Russell stepping up, Schroeder's constantly dropping, 15 plus. Vanderbilt's been great on the defensive side. I mean, it's just it's pretty
Austin
insane that
Reeves is
this.
passing. Austin
Hmm.
Reeves has really shocked me.
Yeah, he stepped up on the playoffs and he's made me eat my words. I remember game 1 of the Memphis series. I was watching with my dad and I told him, "Man, Austin Reeves, I don't know, I feel like he's been a little overrated as of late." And right after that, he just took him and Rui took off that game and made me eat my words immediately. And I made sure to change up real quick and keep my mouth shut because he must have heard what I said and he took it. He said, and I took that personally.
Yeah, but I feel like this is gonna be a great series. Can't wait to see what comes out of it for tomorrow's game.
Mhm.
And speaking about games that have been played, let's bring it on to the 76ers versus the Celtics.
Yes,
This
76ers
is
versus Celtics. It's been
this
a
is a series that I want to say is gonna be really good, but at the same time, after today's game, I was like, what just happened?
Yeah, so the 76ers shock the world in game 1 and Harden goes off. He drops, I believe it was 45. Let me double check.
It was 45.
45, yeah. He drops 45 points, leads his team to victory, and overall the whole team just stepped up during that game. I mean, DeAnthony Melton was great. He had 17. Tyrese Maxey had 26. Tobias had 18, and overall it was just a team effort. Even Paul Reed, who's the backup to Embiid, doesn't always see a lot of playing time, obviously, because Embiid's the best player on that team. Had 10 and 13, a double double, hit some clutch free throws, but obviously, as we saw today in game 2, the Celtics with Embiid back just absolutely destroyed them, completely blew them out. Embiid didn't
This
have
was
a great
crazy.
game. I mean, he had a great game defensively, but obviously not offensively. And the whole 76ers struggled as a whole. They shot 39% from the field and just couldn't really find much offense. And that's gonna be hard to beat the Celtics if you're playing like this with your team. And obviously, we know Embiid's not gonna be fully like 100% going forward. But man, I mean, hopefully it's closer going forward. Hopefully, game 1 wasn't an anomaly, but we'll see going forward.
Yeah, most definitely. And like you said, seeing him beat back and him just dropping the ball offensively was a very shock to the world. But knowing the Sixers game and Embiid, we know they're gonna try to bounce back from that and have a hard hitting game on what's today, Wednesday, on Friday.
Hmm.
And I can't wait to see that bounce back game because now it's gonna be two super teams going at it with each other.
And to keep
Seeing,
things clear too, it's still a 1-1 series. Like just because the Sixers had a bad game does not mean I'm out on this series completely. Like the
yeah,
76ers did what they were supposed to do. They stole home court advantage away and they still have a chance to win this series, which is huge going forward. I mean, we hope Embiid the best health wise because obviously they're going to need every bit of him healthy and playing at his best to win this series. But I mean, this still could be a very great series going forward, and I expect it to be.
Yeah, and with someone like Embiid dropping, you need people like Harden to really step up. Like he did game one, but game two he did not really
Mm-hmm.
have the biggest of games that he could have had.
Same
And
for like
it's
Tyrese Maxey too and
yeah,
others.
yeah. It's just people need to step up when your superstar isn't doing well, and that's why some of these other teams are succeeding. When your superstar is
Mm-hmm.
not doing well, you have other people supporting him and being able to pull the weight.
Most certainly. I mean, as we've seen
But
with these other teams, they've had role players step up. 76ers definitely need to keep that going.
especially with someone like the Celtics, because the Celtics are the top seed.
Hmm.
Are they the top seed?
They were the second, but they're the top seed in
They're
the
the second,
playoffs
yeah.
remaining because the Bucks are, of course, eliminated.
Yeah, but with the Celtics being one of the top, well, being the top seeds in the playoffs now, you need people to step up if you want to be able to move on.
Hmm. So overall, I mean, it's been so surprising they were able to take game one. Game two was a little bit of a disappointment in terms of it was a complete blowout. But going on to game threes, both teams still have a great advantage to win this series. It's going to be a series I expect to go tooth and nail, and hopefully Embiid's healthy going forward.
Yeah, we the 76ers do need Embiid healthy if they really want to seal this series.
Shout out to Embiid as well for winning MVP. That was great to see. No 3-time repeat for the Joker, but Embiid definitely deserves this MVP. He's been in the mix the last 2 years and finally gets the rewards. So great to see for
LeBron
Embiid.
robbed.
No, he wasn't. Stop it. Stop it. You
It
know
was the
that's.
first year he did not get a vote though.
I did see that. I did see that, and I was quite surprised by that. I was like, "You mean to tell me he got to vote every single year of his career?" But
Yes, he did.
that's
He got a
insane.
vote every single year of his
We're
career.
talking rookie as well. That's insane. I didn't even
Yeah.
know that. Wow. Okay. But yeah, we'll move on to the next series, the Nuggets versus Suns. The Suns have had a rough time so far. The Suns are down 0-2 against the Nuggets. The Nuggets have really impressed taking both these games, and perhaps the biggest story going forward for the next few games, Chris Paul's injury. He's been confirmed to at least be out games 3 to 5, or they're preparing as if he's going to be out games 3 to 5 with a groin injury, which just is so unfortunate. Chris Paul's always seems to have these untimely playoff injuries, and he can never stay healthy, man. And with the Suns team that's already so far lacking depth and just having trouble scoring, and it's just tough to see.
But that's the reason why the Suns did things like bring in Kevin Durant and stuff like that, just in case someone gets injured. But CP3 is someone I always wanted to see get a ring because I feel like he's been someone that's been left out of a ring that should have gotten one already.
Hmm. I mean,
And yeah, and seeing him not be able to do what everyone wants him to do kind of sucks. But we'll see how much the Suns could really do with Devin Booker and Kevin Durant as their primary shooters.
And one thing that's been, like I said, the depth has been very disappointing for the Suns. One crazy stat I want to throw out there: the Suns in Game Two only had 4 bench points throughout the entire game. Only 4 points. I believe 2 were from Cameron Payne, and the other 2 were from
What were they
Biombo.
doing on the
Biombo.
bench?
I mean, Torrey Craig 0 points, Damian Lee 25 minutes 0 points. It's just that's a
What was
backbreaker
the
when your bench
bench
players cannot
doing?
score, and that's to keep in mind. Josh Okogie, who's in the starting lineup, had 2 points. So really, you're getting all your points from Kevin Durant, DeAndre, and Devin Booker. There is literally no one else helping. That's just insane to me. And then you have Chris
Not
Paul.
everybody's Dennis Rodman.
You have
Let's be honest here.
you have Chris Paul go out with an injury, and you're still having the same 3 players have to score every single point of your team is just insane. And then that's on a night as well where Kevin Durant's not shooting well from the field. He shot 10 for 27, had a really rough start to the game. I believe he was like 1 for 6 to start from 3, at least in the first like quarter or so, and it was just rough throughout that game. And same thing kind of happened in game 1 to a lesser degree. And going forward, I don't see a scenario really, especially with Chris Paul out these next few games, where they bounce back and at least make it 2-2. I mean, I think at best it's going to be 3-1 going back to Denver, which is just insane because I had the Suns as my favorite in the Western Conference, and now it's looking like
No,
the Nuggets are going to dismantle them.
Suns were never the favorite in the West.
I don't know about that,
You know
man. You
why?
ask most people before the playoffs,
Safe in
most
the
people,
West.
you ask most people in the playoffs, I definitely think most people would have said Suns going forward. But
I'm feeling safe in the West.
but
No, the
overall
West is most definitely not safe at all for anyone.
overall, I think one thing to point out too is like Durant also hasn't seemed like, at least in game one, he didn't seem as aggressive towards the end. I don't want to completely blame it all on Durant because when you just look at the depth of this team, as I said, it's 100% like it's not even fair. And I feel like we haven't really shouted out the Nuggets as well. Jokic has just been amazing, 39 and 16, just an incredible playoff performance. I mean, honestly, just turning it up to another level. Aaron Gordon has been very great as well, especially defensively, which is a very underrated part of his game. Caldwell Pope is hitting open shots, was 4 for 4 from three in the last game. And Jamal Murray struggled a little bit in game two, but in game one was phenomenal. We're seeing the reemergence of Jamal Murray, and overall that Nuggets team is so well rounded. It's hard to expect them not to be the favorites now in the West.
Yeah.
But yeah, overall, hopefully the Suns are able to bounce back. Hopefully, by some miracle, Chris Paul is able to at least be a part of this series going forward. But yeah, I mean, it's not looking good for the Suns. Obviously, it's down 0-2. We've seen teams come back from down 0-2, but Kevin Durant and Devin Booker are really going to have to step up. Not that they haven't been playing well, especially Devin Booker's been playing very well, but I'm gonna really need to see Durant step up to be able to will the Suns team to win against this Nuggets team, or at least make it an even series going forward.
But yeah, no, most definitely they have to step up. If they don't step up, then you could count this series as done.
Mm-hmm. All right, but we'll move forward to the last series now. We have the Knicks versus the Heat, and this series has been,
Hemi Butler.
yes, Timothy
Timothy.
Butler. This series has been really hard to judge going forward just because both stars have been out at least one game. You had the Heat win game 1, but the Knicks were without Julius Randle, of course, and during that game, I mean, Jimmy Butler was obviously great. He had 25 points, 11 rebounds. Players like Bam and Gabe Vincent stepped up. Gabe Vincent had 20 and 5 assists. Kyle Lowry was great off the bench as well. And overall, we're seeing that game the Knicks were pretty inefficient from the field, had a rough time scoring, and just but in the second game they bounced back very well. I mean, obviously it was without Jimmy Butler, but we saw RJ Barrett, who continues to play very well. He's ascended at the best time. A player who is very inconsistent throughout the regular season is now playing his best basketball in the playoffs, which is just great for a Knicks team. Randall came back, had 25 points, 8 from 18 shooting, which by his standards is pretty good because he could be inefficient sometimes. Brunson with 30 points. Josh Hart continues to be amazing. So the series is a little hard to predict going forward. I think it's still very evenly matched. If we have a healthy Randall and Butler going forward, it'll definitely be a series to look out for because I don't know who wins the series going forward, truly. I would say the
I
Heat,
have
but
the Heat. I
yeah.
have the Heat winning, especially when Jimmy Butler decides to come back feeling healthy. I feel like the Heat got this and won in the bag, and the Heat move on.
Mm-hmm. I mean, the Heat,
The
yeah, they've
Heat are
got.
the Heat, and you can't
Mm-hmm.
count out playoff Butler.
I will say, if it comes down to who's going to be the best player on the court, it's obviously going to be Jimmy Butler, and I trust him in the clutch to will his team to victory. Not to discredit the Knicks, though. Like I said, RJ's been great. Randall's been a little bit iffy, but he was great last game. Brunson continues to be great, and overall, that team has impressed. So I don't want to not give them their credit where credit is due because they're doing what they have to do. The series is even. The Heat did take home court, of course, but in a series like this, I don't expect that to matter too much. I expect them to probably trade on the Heat's floor again, and it'll probably be 2-2 going forward, and we'll see how it goes from there. But all speculation, we don't know for sure. Hopefully, it's a great long series because We don't want to see these series end early. We want more basketball.
We most definitely want more basketball, but I feel like with Jimmy Butler coming back, this might be a quick series if Jimmy Butler decides to be Jimmy Buckets.
Hey man, that'd be very interesting, but I don't know.
Kind of wish Tyler Hero never got hurt early on, but
I will say that if Tyler Harrow and Victor Oladipo didn't get injured, I definitely think this series is very different, and I'm probably 100% picking the Heat. But just that lack of offense, it leads me to be a little bit hesitant picking them because if Duncan Robinson isn't shooting well, if Gabe Vincent isn't shooting well from the field, where else are they getting their offense from? And I don't know the answer fully.
I don't know. Heat and Lakers repeat of the bubble.
Hey, man, that would be an insane matchup. I definitely can't see that happening, but that would definitely be an insane
Yeah.
matchup.
Bring back the bubble. See if the Lakers really deserve that bubble ring.
Oh my goodness, the narratives on that would be horrendous. Oh my, I've actually seen people talking about that on Twitter, and they're like rematch of the bubble. See if the Lakers were really frauds in that, and it's just like, come on, bro, let's stop with these terrible
The Lakers most
narratives.
definitely deserve that ring.
I mean, if we want to talk terrible narratives, we can bring up the Lakers Warriors again because that is going to be so narrative based on who wins that series, LeBron versus Curry. But we're not even going to open that can of worms right
Speaking of
now.
speaking of terrible narratives, I poke bears until they don't put 40 on me.
Oh my goodness, we're
Lose
bringing
by
up
40 points.
Dylan Brooks. Oh my goodness, the Memphis Grizzlies.
I
I
kind of feel bad for the guy, but at the same time, if you're not the star and you're not doing what you got to do on offense, you can't really talk the talk.
we will bring that up real quick, not to like shove it down your throats anymore that it's already been reported in the media. But Dylan Brooks, man, just it's been a bad look going forward. I mean, you had Shams report out earlier that Dylan Brooks was that Dylan Brooks is not being brought back to the team by any circumstances, which is just an insane headline to read right after the
Yeah.
first round, after they get eliminated. I can't remember a time I've ever seen a report like that come out right after a team has been eliminated. Usually you wait towards free agency and you're like,
No,
okay,
they
they're not
wasted
bringing this guy.
no time on
Mm-hmm.
him.
Definitely insane, but I mean,
I don't know.
I can't blame them given just how bad that series turned out, especially towards the end, getting blown out by 40, talking all the smack, and then not being able to back it up. And obviously, this wouldn't have happened if you just hadn't been talking so much. I mean, you can talk smack. Like, there's a difference between talking smack and backing
And
it
backing
up,
it up.
or talking smack. Like, Patrick Beverly is sometimes a player who will talk smack, and, like, he won't always, like, lock someone down, or sometimes he'll lose, but you'll never see him, like, kind of back down like Dylan Brooks did or like hang his head low
Yeah.
because it's Patrick Beverly. Just this was something completely different, and it's just
This was unexpected.
crazy to see. I mean, we'll bring that up just
And
because
then
it's a
I
very
was
unique
watching
scenario.
I was watching Shaq talk about it. I don't know on what podcast, but Shaq was like, I don't see him returning to the league. I
I
was like,
think
damn.
I think that's hype. I think that's very much hyperbolic. He'll be back in the league. Because I mean, he has the talent to be in the league. I know everyone's joking
He's
about him being playing in China and whatnot, but let's
yes,
keep it up.
he was like, I see him joining the white in Taiwan. I was like, oh no.
But let's keep it a buck. I mean, it's a very bad look, but 3 months from now, when we're in free agency, a lot of this will have settled down. Teams are going to be wanting a defensive wing. I think he obviously probably won't be a starter, but he'll be on a team. I would be genuinely shocked if he was out of the league. I think a lot of these
Yeah.
hyperbolic takes need to just relax a little bit. Let's relax a little bit. It was a bad look, but come on, man.
Relax.
But yeah, that's that was an interesting scenario that went on throughout the first round for sure. Something I haven't seen before.
Most definitely.
But yeah, was there anything else throughout the playoffs or semifinals you wanted to bring up, Tariq? I mean, we covered most of the four series there.
There's nothing much really left to talk about with with all these series. It's still really early. We gave our thoughts about it. It's just basically watching these guys and seeing what they could really do. If
Mhm.
the Lakers decide to all pass around the ball, score about 20 points each. If Golden State keeps shooting their threes, get better at defense, certain stuff like that. That'll be a good series. The Heat, how they're gonna react with Jimmy Butler coming back. how CP3 is gonna do when he decide when not when he decides, but when his injury decides to heal up. Certain things like that is just all changing the series. How the 76ers decide to work when, well, now that Joel Embiid is back and they just got that devastating loss. It's just the point of seeing how every team is going to react towards someone coming back or someone picking up their slack.
These responses are going to be huge going forward, especially for teams like the Sixers and Suns who got punched in the mouth. We need to see them, see how they respond. So, most definitely agree there. If you had to pick for these series right now, if you had to pick a winner, I know it's a little bit
For these
cheating.
series,
It's a little bit cheating because some of the games have already been played, but if you had to pick winners right now for these four series, who would you be picking?
all right. Well, get the easy one for me out of the way. Lakers versus Golden State. Lakers fan, I have to go with the Lakers.
In how many games?
6.
Six. That's definitely okay. I
I
respect
see it
the
going 6
homerism.
games.
All right.
Um,
Suns Nuggets.
Suns Nuggets without CP3 right now. I got Nuggets going in 6 too.
All right. All right. Nuggets and six. I'd be impressed if the Suns can bring it there.
Well,
All right.
what's the series at right now?
It's 0-2, 0-2.
It's 0-2. Never mind. I give it 5. CP3's out 2 games. The I feel like they'll pull out 1 game. I give it in 5.
And then Celtics 76ers.
Full 7 series games. I've got Sixers winning in 7.
Wow, that's a bold take. I will give you that one. That's a bold take, but I
Sixers
respect
in
it. I
7.
respect it.
Yeah. And then the final one with the Heat versus Knicks. I got this being another 6 series game with the Heat taking it.
All right, I'll give you mine real quick before we move on to the next topic. But I still have Warriors in 7. I think the Lakers taking home
You're not
court
my friend.
advantage. Hey man, I had Warriors in 6 to start the series, but I'm leaning back on that pick a little bit after how impressed I was by the Lakers, how they were able to defend Steph, and just in general, just how great they were in general. But I'm still gonna say Warriors in 7, but I'm not as confident about that pick anymore. I could see the Lakers winning in 7, and but if I had to pick, I'm gonna say Warriors in 7 as of right now. This is gonna sound a little disrespectful. I have Nuggets in 5 just because of the
Oof.
injuries and how horrible the depth has been for the Suns.
Yeah.
I have Celtics in 6 just because it seems the Celtics always have the 76ers number. I think I saw a stat just now. Embiid is 1-9 in his last 10 playoff games against the Celtics or something crazy like that. So I just don't trust the 76ers team to beat the Celtics in a 7-game series, unfortunately. And Knicks versus Heat, I probably have the Heat in 6 or 7, but the Knicks have been impressing me, so I could still see it going either way.
I can most definitely see these going either way. This is a great semis.
This semifinals has been living up to the hype so far, and hopefully these matchups continue being great. But yeah, we'll move on to the next topic, the NFL draft, winners and losers. We're a little bit later on this topic, but the NFL draft was crazy. We saw an unprecedented amount of trades, crazy move ups, and overall it's just crazy in general. We saw the Panthers pick Bryce Young, gonna be their new franchise quarterback. CJ Stroud to the Texans, Anthony Richardson to the Colts. Those are the big QB moves. But we want to dive into a couple winners we had throughout this draft. And I think the obvious pick for the winners, at least the first one, is the Eagles. The
The
Eagles.
Georgia Eagles.
Yes, the Philadelphia Bulldogs. Oh my goodness. The Eagles were drafting from just the Georgia roster the entire time. I mean,
And everyone just let it happen.
which was just insane. I mean, obviously, of course, the Jalen Carter pick is a risky pick in the sense that he's had off the field troubles. You have to hope that those character concerns go away going forward. I mean, a very serious issue with the street racing and his friend crashing and dying throughout that. But if he was touted as the number 1 or 2 player in this entire draft by pure talent, and you get him at number 9, it's impossible not to see that as a win because the Eagles just went to the Super Bowl. They have a fully loaded roster. This is a team that can take a chance on Jalen Carter. If he doesn't work out, it's not the end of the world for the Eagles like it would be for many of these other teams. And then to get Nolan Smith at pick 30, to get both of them is just insane with both their first round picks. And then they still landed studs like Keely Ringo later in the draft, who maybe he works out, maybe he doesn't. He fell down draft boards a lot throughout the year, but he still has the build to at least be a very good corner, or maybe even transition to safety. Then you still got guys like Tyler Steen who come develop into good linemen, especially under Jeff Stoutland. I think they easily won this draft with flying colors.
It was like the Eagle scout went to a Georgia defense practice and was like, they were like, which one you like? All of them.
All of them, for real. And then to top it all off, as if they didn't draft enough Georgia players, they trade for DeAndre Swift, who of course was a
Uh,
Georgia Bulldog, because why wouldn't he be? And
from Philly and then went to Georgia and
and
now
now
back at Philly playing.
And now that running back room just looks so complete with Rashad Penny, DeAndre Swift, Boston Scott, and Kenneth Gainwell. Whoo, man, you have that with Jalen Hurts running as well from the quarterback position. Good luck stopping the
Whoop,
Eagles offense,
whoop,
man.
go Giants.
I
Woo.
know
Deal
you're
with
going to
that
have
twice
fun
a
watching the
year.
Giants try to stop them.
I mean, at least we have a good defensive front, but it's the point, like, damn. That's a lot of work for our defensive boys up front. And like with Wink Martindale's plan, like we all know Giants are a full blitz team, and if you're not good at tackling, you're not going to be on the Giants now. But jeez, man, that's it's gonna be tough. But speaking of DeAndre Swift going to the Eagles, let's bring up our first loser, which I have as the Lions.
hmm Lions just overall. I mean, the Lions are weird in a sense. I feel like they're losers, but if you look at the draft in a vacuum and tell me they got Brian Branch, Jameer Gibbs, I forget the linebacker's name they have, but he was the top ranked linebacker. You look at those for their three picks, and it doesn't look as bad, but when you see where they were drafted, it's just bad positional value. Like running back
Yeah.
Jameer Gibbs at 12, why? It just doesn't make sense. You could have gotten him so much later. You could have drafted a stud like Christian Gonzalez at pick 12 and still maybe had Jameer Gibbs later in the first round or second round. And then linebacker isn't traditionally viewed as a position you want to draft in the first round, although I tend to disagree with that notion personally. But if you're asking most people drafting, they don't like to see linebackers drafted early. It's kind of similar to running backs to a lesser degree, of course, but I don't know.
Yeah.
From a value position, the Lions definitely seemed like they lost this draft. I mean, what do you think, Tariq?
Uh, I don't know. I feel like the biggest thing to me was that stuck out was the running back. It was like you ended the season off with two amazing running backs. Then all of a sudden you let Jamal Williams walk and it was like, all right, cool. And then you picked up David Montgomery. It was like, okay, that fixes it a little bit. And then draft the running back first round, and then all of a sudden trade away DeAndre Swift for just to swap first round picks and like a fourth and a seventh round. And it was like, well, that really wasn't the best thing for you guys to do.
I definitely think that was a very questionable trade, trading away DeAndre Swift and then drafting Jameer Gibbs when it's like, okay, was this really worth like wasting your first round pick on a running back when you already had decent running backs? Like, I don't know. I mean, maybe Jameer Gibbs turns into a superstar and we're not criticizing this pick as much, but it's just really weird looking at it
I
from that
mean,
sense.
even if he turns into a superstar, you had two superstars in that backfield. You
I
had what everybody wants.
I
You had a
wouldn't say
power back, and you had a.
superstars, but you had two great running backs for sure.
I'm talking about before
No,
David
yeah, I
Montgomery
know,
came
I
in.
know, but
You had Jamal Williams, speedy downhill guy, and then you had DeAndre Swift, who was basically a fullback at a running back position.
yeah, I mean, the Lions draft was weird for me. I'm hesitant to call them complete losers, but I get why a lot of people are and why you think so.
I'm not
Why
hesitant.
I know you're like I'm not hesitant. They lost this draft. Um, one more loser I want to bring up too is the Jets. They didn't have a horrific draft, but I just feel like they were in prime position to draft Aaron Rodgers, a wide receiver like Jackson Smith, and they did not. And of course, they're just going forward without a lot of O-line help without a lot of receiver help, and it's just what they prioritized, was it really worth it? And I'm not so sure. I don't think their draft was as I don't think anyone had a horrifically bad draft, but if I had to pick two losers, it's probably those two teams.
Yeah.
Moving back to a couple winners, I want to shout out the Texans. Oh my goodness, this Texans trade could look
Did
awful
not
in a year.
expect that.
It could easily look awful in a year. Let's keep this 100%. But if you were to have told me they have Will Anderson and C.J. Stroud, those are two of the top five probably prospects. I mean, if you're grading quarterbacks with a curve, because of course C.J. Stroud isn't a top five talent, but in terms of quarterbacks, he was going to always be top five just because of the quarterback position. C.J. Stroud and Will Anderson, that's an insane move for their GM to make. And I saw a lot of people saying that their GM must be trying to save their job, which of course it very well seems that way, trading their pick next year. But Will Anderson, easily the best defensive player in the draft, especially like if you're worried about Jalen Carter's character concerns. Best edge for sure. And now CJ Stroud, if you truly believe that's your franchise quarterback going forward, sure, this trade's a home run. And hopefully, especially in a D'Amico Ryans led defense, hopefully Will Anderson shines and CJ Stroud's able to really do his thing and become a franchise QB for them.
Yeah, I don't know about you, but they're working for me on Madden right now.
That's going to be a fun team to rebuild on Madden. I will give you that.
Oh,
And then
yes, yeah.
Tank Dell in the third round was a really solid pickup as well. That draft for the Texans was just really good. If they're even like a somewhat decent team, like if they're, as long as they're not a bottom 5 or bottom 4 team next year, I think this trade's a win as long as CJ Stroud looks decent in his rookie season. If he doesn't look decent and you're the worst team, it's looking really bad. But
Yeah, but you
have
also can't really you really can't judge him off of the first year, because we all saw someone like Trevor Lawrence right now where he had a major switch up from first year to now.
What I'm more worried about is that pick they gave to the Cardinals, though, of course, because if they're bad, of course it could look really bad in hindsight. But I respect how all in they were willing to go. It's a very risky trade, but you got two of the best players on the board, so shout out to them.
Yeah, so can't wait to see how this Texans team comes out, because I always like seeing the Texans. I just want to see what they can really do with these two top picks. Like, these were major picks for them.
Mm-hmm. Any other teams you really think had an underrated draft, Tarique?
Underrated draft? Not really. I feel like everybody kind of went with what they needed.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like it was just a good draft. Everybody basically got, like, it was kind of like seeing, like, oh, yeah, we kind of knew you were going to go for that type of position.
Mm-hmm.
So it's all about seeing how everybody's going to work out.
I think the Patriots had a really solid pick in Christian Gonzalez as well. I just want to highlight that as well. He easily
Very
could have been.
shocking.
I don't think it was super shocking. I think we expected a receiver, but shocking he fell that low, if that's what
That's
you
what I'm
mean.
saying. Very shocking that he fell that low.
Yeah, and easily could have been graded as the best cornerback in the class, but of course Devin Witherspoon went first, and Christian Gonzalez falls to the Patriots. That's great. I also think the Cardinals had a very underrated drafting protection for Kyler Murray and Paris Johnson. B.J. Ojolari as an edge in round 2 was, I think, a great pick. So, and that, of course, getting that 2024 Texans pick is huge going forward, because they were still able to trade back up into the 6th pick and get Paris Johnson, probably the best tackle. So that's just great. And they're going to be bad next year without Kyler Murray. So they very well could have 2 top 5 picks, especially if the Texans disappoint. So it's a gamble, but I like that trade for both teams going forward.
Yeah, I do too. I can't wait to. I love football season. I just can't wait to see how it's gonna all turn out.
Yes, sir. Yeah. And I'll let you go forward with the last topic before we wrap it up here, because oh my goodness, this was shocking.
Yeah, I know you don't watch much about it, but NHL's on a streak right now, which is crazy to me. And I know I just got really into the NHL, but 2 of the top seeded people go down. Bruins, best regular season in NHL history, go down to the Florida Panthers in Game 7.
And I will say,
in overtime.
despite not being the biggest hockey fan, I was definitely tuned into that game. And oh my goodness, I was watching an absolute shock in overtime with just how they were able to come back. They scored that goal in the last minute to tie it, I believe. And
Yeah,
wow,
I
that.
was just not. No one really expected the Panthers to bring it to Game 7, let alone win the series.
Hmm.
So just seeing that was something,
Yeah.
and I give so much props to the Panthers for somehow pulling this out against what is most people see as probably the best NHL team to come in a while.
Hmm. Definitely just super impressive. Like I said, was in total shock watching that as a very, very casual hockey fan, I guess you could say. Was not expecting it at all.
Yeah, and then coming out to the other end of another Game 7 matchup, the Kraken beat the top-seeded Avalanche. And I recently got into hockey, so I became a Kraken fan. And seeing the Kraken bring it all the way to Game 7 to win 2-1 was another close nail-biter game, and it was just great to watch. Certain people just step up and be able to go out on the rink and destroy and do what they had to do.
Hmm. Definitely, definitely. I mean, shout out to them. They're the newest franchise, and looking like
Newest franchise,
they're
first
looking
time in
like
the
they got the
playoffs,
bright
first playoff
future.
series win.
Hmm. Bright futures ahead for them.
Yeah, and not even that's not even all of it. There was another Game 7 that happened with the New Jersey Devils versus the New York Rangers, and seeing the Devils come out on top with an easy 4-0 win for them. Just seeing three Game 7s happen in the first series of the Stanley Cup playoffs is something most people don't really get to watch. But that's all I really have for NHL. Like we said, not much more sports news. MLB is really just starting, so there's not much going on. It's just been the first month.
Hmm. And yeah, I mean, MLB, we've had some surprising teams, but we'll dive into the MLB a little bit deeper as we get further into the summer and teams are more established. But yeah, we'll definitely continue covering the NBA playoffs in the next few weeks. We're getting into the nitty gritty. These semifinals have been impressive. After the semifinals, we obviously have the conference finals and then the finals. So we're getting to the, like I said, the nitty gritty. It's gonna be crazy going forward these next couple weeks. Obviously NFL will be calming down with the draft finishing. We'll see a couple sneaky signings here and there, but it's
Yeah, Randall
NBA.
Cobb.
It's NBA and NHL season right now, so we'll be here covering it all.
Yeah. Then yeah, most definitely follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and things like that to just get sports news right off the top before we even produce our podcast.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for joining and listening to us on this podcast. Like I said, we'll continue covering all sports news and so on throughout the next few months. Crazy time in sports, and we'll definitely want to be here to cover it. Like I said, thank you for listening. Subscribe if you enjoy. We try to post these podcasts once every week or two, and we're trying to get into regular video making as well. We had a video going over the NBA injuries and how they've been affecting the playoffs so far. So if you haven't seen that, please check it out. It's actually been our highest performing video. So thank you all for have watched that as well. But yeah, if you enjoyed, please subscribe, like, comments, let us know your thoughts on the semifinals and just everything going on in sports and below in the comments. They help the algorithm, so please let's start a discussion in the comments.
Yeah. Well, all right. Thanks, guys.
Yep, thank you for tuning in. Take care.